A few months ago, I ranked all of the Disney movies. A few months later, I'm gonna do another ranking video, and this time it's about the TV show, the animated TV series from Disney. Hello everyone, my name is CartoonFan72 and welcome to a ranking video where I will talk about the Disney animated TV series. Whether on Disney Channel or Disney XD, we're gonna talk about every single one of them that I've watched. So let's start with the first one. So the first one is DuckTales 1987, but I want to specifically focus on the 2017 reboot that is DuckTales. In my opinion, I think the reboot did a better job than the original one. No offense to the original source material, but I still think the 2017 version blows the rest out of the water. Why is that? Well, because the characters, all of them, have great backstories. The three duckling, Louie, Huey, Dewey. Well, unlike the original one where they just share the same characters, here they all have different personalities, and that's why you can root for each of them without feeling confused who is who. Not to mention, we got Webby and Bleakley who had better character traits compared to the original 80s version. Of course, Donald Duck wasn't a punching bag in the reboot. He got purpose in the show, in the reboot, and they all treated him really well compared to, well, the older version, which is awesome. Of course, the serialized story makes it better compared to the episodic material from the 1987 version. Uncle Scrooge is also wholesome this time around. Bradford Buzzard is a really good villain, and when he revealed himself to be part of the Fowl, that was a pretty good twist. And of course, we can't forget about Magica and Lunaris as the other two villains that were also good. So yeah, I still think that the 2017 reboot of DuckTales is better than the original 1987 version. So that's why the original one, unfortunately, will stay right here, whilst the reboot goes on top. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. And to be honest, I never actually watched the show. Well, prior to that, I did play a lot of the video game. The one made by Capcom, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers 1 and 2 on the NES. Played the crap out of it, and I still think those games are really good, and those were my introduction to the show as a whole. Chip and Dale, Monterey Jack, Gadget, all awesome characters. They all work together to solve different cases each week. Sometimes go up against Fat Cat, and sometimes go up against different situation. One of my favorite episodes was the one where they go to space, and of course Jack Monterey was just saying cheese. That was very funny. So yeah, the show was really good. Pretty good theme song. Yeah, I used to watch this back then. When I rewatched this recently, man, this show holds up like a fine wine. So yeah, Chip and the Rescue Ranger goes up right here. Darkwing Duck. I guess it's okay. I mean, it took a lot of inspiration from superheroes shows, movies like Batman and Spider-Man. So yeah, you can see some inspiration here on Darkwing Duck himself. Let's get dangerous. Let's say, a fun show about solving crime. And yeah, I only know about this show because of the fantastic running gun game on the NES developed by Capcom. Man, Disney and Capcom sure had great relationship back then, and they gave us lots of great games, great tie-in games. Yeah, this is a really good show. Not much I could say. Still waiting for a reboot. For many years now, there's been talk about a reboot, but unfortunately still nothing as of 2026, April 1st. So yeah, I'm hoping for a reboot sometime soon. Please, come on. Goof Troop. And you guessed it, only know about this show because of the tie-in video game on the Super Nintendo. Of course, developed by Capcom. Really fun puzzle game where you work with either yourself or your friend to push boxes and just push obstacles, push enemies out of the way. Really fun game. Really good show. If you watch like the Goofy movie, where Goofy as a dad just trying to get along with his son Max, and a lot of stuff happen in between. And here the Goof Troop, basically it's the same premise where they just try to get along well with each other, trying to work together to solve different problems, while also trying to deal with their nasty neighbor that is Pete. Overall, pretty good show. Little Mermaid. I say before that in my movie ranking that Little Mermaid, Ariel is my favorite princess alongside Mulan. So yeah, I was excited to see like a tie-in TV show that take place, I believe, before the prequel, and the show is really good. Great adventures with Ariel. She's awesome. We got Flounder and Sebastian Wattle. Sebastian. Yeah, Ariel also had a great relationship with Triton, King Triton, which is fantastic. And also, they go on a fun adventure every episode. And we got a new character in the form of Gabriella, which is awesome with her hand signs. Pretty good representation of the mute community. Pretty good, characters. Pretty good show. Pretty good lore. And pretty good soundtrack. So yeah, Little Mermaid. Despite the animation looking jarring compared to the movie, I still think that the show is pretty good. And yeah, it goes up here. Disney Tarzan. Well, Tarzan is a really good movie, and they make a TV show where every week there's a new cases to be solved. I used to watch it many years ago. I don't really watch it these days, but from what I remember, one of my favorite episodes is when Tarzan was scared of like the powder that Jane uses for makeup. Like throughout the episode, like Jane was trying to figure out what Tarzan afraid of, and then when she uses the powder for makeup, Tarzan got scared. That's one of my favorite episodes. Also, there's another episode where like there's this guy who's doing research in the jungle, and then there's a monkey who like taking a picture of his own, and then the guy just went back to his campus to show the picture, and all he got was the picture of monkeys. That was funny as well. Oh, what a really good show. Oh yeah, so yeah, go watch it. Disney Tarzan TV series is really good. Kim Possible, awesome intro theme. She-Go, Dragon, awesome villains. Kim and Ron, awesome protagonists. So yeah, to see Kim just doing all this stuff to save the world while trying to defeat the rivals, enemies, villains. Really good show. Really like action oriented. And so glad the show did get rebooted for 4th season. Just say, Kim Possible, not everyone knows it, and I don't want to waste my time talking about what makes the show so good, because everyone knows it by now. Lilo and Stitch series, being a big Lilo and Stitch fan, unfortunately I just couldn't get into this show, and the animation just took a big hit, because it's a TV show. But another problem is that the premise of like finding all the experiments, like if you watch like Leroy and Stitch, at the end of the movie, like all the experiments will just scatter across the island, and and everyone else, Lilo, Stitch, all try to find all the specimens and try to return it back. No, I just couldn't get into it. I feel that every week they got new things to do, and I just want a show, a few episodes where Lilo and Stitch just hang out, do their fun things, just like what they did in the movie, in the first movie. Unfortunately, all we got was like all these filler episode, like not filler, just shows about episode about these characters just finding the specimen, trying to find their way to capture them and stuff. And while at the same time, the main character, got into trouble through no fault of their own, and had to clear their name. So yeah, I couldn't get into this TV series, but at least it's better than something like the anime and the one that got rebooted many years later. So yeah, Lilo and Stitch series, not good, but it was okay. Yeah, it's a really good premise, but Brandy and Mr. Whiskers, another show that I used to watch a lot back then. And yeah, from what I remember, this show is pretty good. The bunny, pretty funny. Brandy, the lady, is also iconic. So they also had different friends along the way. You got the snake, you got I believe the toucan, and of course the weasel thing, I believe. And then the other one was like where they found their doppelganger clone that also stole their show, which was very funny. And there's also the other one where like Mr. Whiskers was like brainwashed, when he heard some the words, and Brandy just couldn't control him for the most part. Brandy, Mr. Whiskers, they both have great banter with each other. My favorite episode was like the one that I remember was like the one where they bought all the stuff and then just fight in the end. And then just, that's a pretty good episode. So yeah, Brandy and Mr. Whiskers, a really underrated show from the 2000s. And yeah, this goes up here. American Dragon! Jake Long, another one of my favorite show. I did say multiple times over the years that I love dragon, the mythical creature. So American Dragon is no stranger to me. I like Jake, design, his behavior, and when he turned into dragon, that is so cool. And he worked together with everyone else to solve danger every single episode. While at the same time try to get along with Rose, his crush. And overall pretty good show. I love dragons, I love the theme, I love the action scene. And my favorite one that I could remember was the one with someone that poisoned everyone else with the cupcake muffin, and Jake has to save everyone. That's what I could think of. But overall this show is pretty good. I don't like season 2 though, they change the art style, they make the design look much worse, and that's the reason I just only like season 1 as a whole and never really rewatch season 2 whenever I do a rewatch. Overall, American Dragon Jake Long, despite the flaws, still goes up here. The Buzz on Mcgee, basically a show about multiple flies living in this this city here, this fictional city, and I don't know, I just find to be gross for obvious reason, flies and stuff, but yeah, gonna get into it. Basically the character herself, the main character Mcgee, wants to be a rock star or something like that, be a famous fly, and yeah, it was cute for for younger viewers, but for old guy like me, I don't like the show, the humor, and couldn't get into it. This may come as a shocker, but Phineas and Ferb, I actually haven't watched all the episodes yet. I'm still around season 3.5 and haven't got to all of it, including the reboot that came out last year. Still working on it, but yeah, from what I watch, this is a really iconic show. Phineas, Ferb, Platypus, Perry, Doofenshmirtz, Vanessa, Isabella, Candice. If you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. Pretty good show, but I haven't watched all of it, so that's why it goes here. It will change in the future, but for now, no. Fish Hoax is basically what happens when you Disney tried to make a SpongeBob cartoon and it failed really badly. Granted, it is the project made by the same person that went on to make Gravity Falls. But from what we had here in the first or so project, yeah, he left a lot to be desired, and yeah, the humor wasn't that good. The characters are really annoying, and I don't know, I just don't like this show at all. Murder City. Wow, this show is something else. You can tell that this is basically Disney answer to Hot Wheels, and they never disappoint. So basically, this city here in the dystopian city, this rich person just want to control everything, and there's this group of friends that try to save this town, save this small last place from being controlled by the evil villain. Oh, that's the premise of the show. It's a pretty good show, pretty good series, despite only few episodes and only one season with cliffhanger. I enjoy the action scene, I enjoy the car design, I enjoy the presentation here, and I enjoy the characters themselves. But unfortunately, only one season, so much more left unanswered, and the show just didn't go anywhere and was just scrapped. Very sad, and unfortunately nothing we could do. Randy Cunningham, 9th Grade Ninja. This show is pretty underrated. It's I don't hear anyone talk about this show at all. And of course, this show was starred by the one and only Ben Schwartz. His voice, his performance as Randy and his friend Howard, by another person, well, pretty much that carried the show as a whole. Randy and Howard just ordinary kids from school, and then one day they were given this ability to be a ninja, and of course they just misuse the power and by causing so much trouble. But in the end, they learned their lesson from Nomicons, and they had to work together to take down the villains, which are pretty cool as well. The villains, Randy and Howard, pretty good protagonists, and smooth animation, really nice secondary characters, and overall good story. But too bad the show was scrapped and the cliffhanger never got resolved. Overall, pretty good show, underrated show that deserves more attention. Randy Cunningham. It's Gravity Falls, one of the most iconic shows to exist in the history of television, the history of Disney Channel. Nothing else I could say. Maple and Dipper, pretty funny characters, young characters that decide to visit this small town of Oregon. Stan Pine, the best uncle you could ever afford, you could ever ask for. That you won't find anyone else as cool as Stan, other than here in the falls here. There's no such thing as filler in this show. Like every episode are important, and if you miss that, you will miss out on something crucial that you will watch later on. Really iconic villain that needs no introduction, and a spooky story that you want to keep on watching. It can be spooky, but you want to keep on watching to find out the mystery in the end. And so pretty good family bonding as well. And the show is awesome, and I'm still waiting for the next summer for the next continuation. But I guess that's never gonna happen. But hey, you just never know what the future holds in the future for Mabel and Dipper. This show is awesome. Wonder Over Yonder, another awesome show, really popular show. I really love this orange goofball thing. He's so adorable, he's so funny and so friendly. Everyone that, if you were to be friends with him, he wouldn't mind. And see, that's pretty much describe Wonder himself. His friend as well, Sylvia, is also awesome. Trying to protect Wonder from time to time when he was in danger, and also trying to be a good person, good character, just be around Wonder so that Wonder can stay out of trouble. Really good villain before Lord Hater for season 1 and Lord Dominator for season 2. Commander Peepers, pretty good villain. Side character villain. My favorite scene is this one right here. I really like the animation, I like the art style, I like the comedy, I like the voice acting. Jack McBrayer and April Winchell for the 2 characters, aforementioned star characters. They are awesome. And that's the reason why Wonder Woman Yonder is on top. Star vs the Forces of Evil. Well, this show is awesome. I like all the characters in this show apart from Ponyhead. I like Star for being quirky, just friendly, and just so much chaos, so much energy. And I just relate well to her. It's hard to find anyone else that is friendly and just I kind of wish like Star as Butterfly is like a character that exists in real life, like someone else share the same character trait as her, and we could just talk together and just hang out, have fun. I like Marco, the safe kid that loves martial art, and I like everyone else. The story is pretty cool. Star coming to Earth, causing so much trouble, and then trying to adapt to it. Also trying to fight Ludo as the show went on. And then season 2 happened. We got Star and Ludo, and then Toffee in season 3. Despite being a brief appearance. I like all the show. I like the music by Brian H. Kim. I like the story. I like the characters. I like the lore. I like the presentation. I like the animation. It's a pretty good show. Despite what people say about the latter season being terrible, the show as a whole is still pretty good, and I recommend all you all to watch it. There's like problems like the shipping, which I agree. There's also like season 4 where Eclipse just being a really bad leader, kicking out the humans and to bring in the monsters to give them the home. Mina being a really weak villain, and of course the whole discourse of the finale where Star destroyed magic, and no, Star didn't like erase everyone, because everyone else, all the creatures are still alive without any magic in the end. So you can't really say Star like committed the erasing, which was very wrong. So yeah, I really don't understand the hate behind the characters and the show, apart from like those obvious reasons. But other than that, it feels like people just blown the hate out of proportion and hated this show for whatever reason, and I don't understand it. But in the end, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, I like this show. I acknowledge the problems, but I still like the show. That's the difference between not listening and listening and observing everything, and it goes right here. I just watched this show recently, and wow, this show caught me by surprise. Elena of Avalor. Wow, this show is pretty good. Like, it's not your typical princess movie, Yes, like it has like, Elena as the princess protagonist, but other than that, this show is pretty good. And apparently it's like supposed to tie in with Sophia the First, but that's on a younger side demographic, so I only watched this one, so I don't really know much of it by the way. But wow, Elena of Avalor. Wow, this show is awesome. I really like the story, I like the lore, I like the songs, which are awesome, and I really can relate for most of the characters. Alina, she should be main princess for what she went through throughout the show. Like, she lost her parents and had to deal with the pressure of being the princess, the leader of Avalor, and while at the same time have to deal with the villains like Shuriki, the Victor who backstab her, and then Cristobal, and of course Esteban. So yeah, it's a really deep show, compared to Sophia the First, and I was very surprised by the theme of it. A dark show, lots of mature theme, and for a Disney show, this should be Alina should be a Disney princess, cause she deserves it. I love like the movie, So when I watched, so when I heard there's a TV series, I was excited. But with Rapunzel Tangled Adventure, however, there's problems with this show. Like the writings were all over the place. Okay, so the animation is pretty cool from Mcgee Frameworks. I like the art style, I like the music, but that's the only thing I could say were good. The rest were pretty bad. Rapunzel and Flynn Rider went through so many things in the movie, but here, like, Rapunzel just pretty much ignored Flynn and Rider, and Eugene was like being like a side character, unimportant, and also he was like pretty weak compared to like original movie. Like in the movie he knows to fight and how to defend himself, but here is like he's pretty weak and he feels like he can't do anything at all, which was so weird when you think about it. And then of course they wrote Rapunzel into this character where she can never do wrong. Despite making mistakes across the show this season, the writer insists that she was never wrong and rubs people the wrong way, unfortunately. They introduced Cass, a new character. However, her motive was felt forced. It's just so ridiculous that it doesn't matter. Like Cass, it turns out she is the daughter of Mother Gothel, and as a result she wanted to have a revenge on like Rapunzel, and that's all her motive. And there's back and forth friendship and argument between Cass and Rapunzel, but other than that, everything felt weak once Cass betrayed her and just went on with the fight. And even after that causing so much trouble, now Cass should have been given a reasonable punishment, but nope. Rapunzel gave her a hug and she just got away with it, which is so. Are you serious? Like, she did so many bad things throughout the show, and you're gonna give her a hug and you're gonna forget about it? Seriously, I cannot believe it. And of course, Rapunzel, she had her hair in the movie and then she had to let it go by the end of it. Turns out it doesn't really matter. It doesn't define her as the person in the movie. It doesn't really matter anymore because the long hair came back in the show. So yeah, Rapunzel Tangled Adventure, pretty good story, pretty good animation, but that's the only thing I could say. The rest is just a mess. Amphibia, wow, this show is awesome. What was once just like a silly little frog show about some frogs just going out eventually as like a human just trapped in this frog world and like had to learn to adapt with the frogs. It might look like a silly frog show, but it's more than that. And wow, this show is it's unexpected. Season 1, Aang, got stuck in this world, had to learn the hard way to just get used to the place and try to get along with the frogs, including Sprig, Polly, and Hop Pop. But in the end, the payoff was worth it. Aang was a really, really annoying character, but as the show goes on, she learned from her mistake and become a fantastic character and become a role model for everyone, for the viewers. Of course, can't forget about Marcy, Wu, and Sasha Waybright. Yeah, two fantastic characters. And of course, Sprig, Polly, Hop Pop, and the other side characters I forget to mention. Once you get into season 2 though, the show was brilliant. There's the lore center, the story gets deeper, things got darker, and of course, the unexpected twist at the end of the season, which just caught everyone off guard. And of course, season 3, emotional roller coaster really went. I'm not gonna say too much, I don't wanna say too much, but please go watch Amphibia if you haven't. This show is awesome, and I don't think we'll get anything else like this anytime soon. The Owl House, I find the show to be okay. And before you all scream in the comments for hating it for multiple reasons, I think the show just was pretty boring for the most part. We see Luz trying to adapt to the world, boarding out in the first season and fumbling it through most of the lesson in the first season, which was very hard to watch. And that's my problem with the first season. We see a lot of fillers where Luz just trying to adapt and trying to learn, making a lot of mistakes, trying to seek advice from Ada, and also we got stuff with King and Hootie. And yeah, the season 1 just doesn't have much going on, and it might turn some viewers away. And season 2 was where it gets really gets better, let's just say that way. Once everything else explained, the filler stuff, season 2 gets into it with all the characters, the story, and that's the best part of the show. Unfortunately though, and of course we got Lamidi, which was adorable. But unfortunately, season 3 was just mixed back again. Season 1 was pretty weak, 2 was good, awesome, and then 3 just went back to being weak again. And of course, season 3 just being rushed. It was meant to have a full episode, full season. Unfortunately, it got scrapped because Disney was not too happy with the work, which was ridiculous and left a big gap and make a lot of people lose trust with Disney. A show they're trying to do some representation, but unfortunately they just stop it for whatever reason without giving any reason whatsoever, and we got what we had here. But overall, The Owl House is a pretty good show, but I kinda wish the show gets better treatment. The Ghost and Molly Mcgee. Oh, this show is underrated as heck. Like, unfortunately though, it's one of the few shows that to be released during Disney Plus like streaming era, and the show, the performance was decided by the viewing figures in the streaming, and unfortunately it didn't do well, and we only got 2 seasons with the third one being scrapped, which really sucks. Molly Mcgee, a cheerful, quirky girl that's just so happy, and it's just, going through everyday life, having to deal with Scratch, a really miserable ghost. It's so adorable to see their banter, trying to get along with each other, trying to help each other, while also trying to fix their conflict and stuff. Molly Mcgee, she's awesome. We got also nice side characters like Libby Stein Torres. We got Andrea Davenport, the diva girl. We got Sharon, we got Pete, we got Ollie, we got June, and Scratch, Jeff. All along, pretty good cast of characters, and the episodes are pretty fun as well. Pretty down to earth, trying to find out, what to solve the problem. The characters, just going through their life and had to solve their problems, which were really realistic, really funny. All the characters were fun, and yeah, pretty good animation as well. And it's a pretty good show. Unfortunately, just couldn't stand the test of streaming number. Oh yeah, this show was voiced by Dana Schneider, and of course the one and only Ashley Birch, who needs no introduction anyway at this point. The Ghost and Molly Mcgee deserve better, like Wonder over Yonder, but unfortunately, just like Motor City, it didn't get full season. Yeah, that is the ranking for all the TV show, Disney animated TV show that I watched thus far. I know there's still some that I haven't watched, but for the majority that matters, I watched them. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Just like the movies, I feel like the TV show deserve more attention as well. They are pretty good, and unfortunately, just because they're TV show, people don't watch TV anymore these days, and some shows tend to be forgotten, which really sucks. But hey, if you got a chance, go watch those. Pretty good movie, pretty good. Disney not only good at making good movies, but also good at making good TV shows, animated TV shows, and you all wouldn't regret it. That's all I gotta say for this video. Let me know your opinion on your favorite TV show. Where do those ranks? Do you agree with my decision? Let's have a peaceful discussion. Thank you for watching. My name is CartoonFan27. Oh wait, my name is CartoonFan72. Signing out.